Hey, greetings everyone. Welcome to week 3 of Ancient Western Literature. And can you believe it? The summer is already blazing by. This week, we're going to deal with fate. Now, I remember several years ago when I was teaching this class, I came up with a great idea. I thought it was a great idea. And that is, I prepared the grades of each of the students in my class, and I actually prepared them badly on purpose. As a matter of fact, I gave every single student a D or lower. I especially went out of my way to make sure that the really, really good students, those students who had 110% in the class, came up with an F. So everyone was doing very poorly in the class. I even had detailed accounts on what grades they got on everything, and everyone was failing miserably. Of course, I just made it all up. Then I put them on little slips of piece of paper, and I handed each student his or her grade. And then I just went on to teach the class. As I started to teach, there were rumblings in the classroom because people were bothered by their grade. Understandably, some of them were very bothered by the grade. And finally, somebody would raise their hand inevitably and say, excuse me, I think this grade is wrong. It says I have an F. And I said, oh, well, I need to explain to you how I do my grades. You see, I decided at the beginning of the semester, before we even really began having classes, what grade each one of you would get. And so it really actually doesn't matter what work you do in this class. I've already decided what grade you're going to get, and here it is. Then there'd be a quiet rumbling, and then I would say, all right, class, let's talk about fate and fatalism and Oedipus. I thought this was a brilliant way to begin the topic. And the first time I tried it, it went off smashingly well. The next time I tried it, I had a couple students start to cry. And they were usually that student with about 110%. You know, the kind of student, some of you might be this student, I was, where you think that an A- is an F. And they were so distraught that they started to cry. And I then had to immediately say, no, 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 this isn't real. This is just an illustration, honest, honest. I don't do that illustration anymore. But I thought it was a brilliant way to illustrate the idea of fate and fatalism. Do we have control over our lives? Is there a power that's at work that's already decided for us what will become of us? Is there a power out there that's already decided whether we will succeed or fail? Is there a power that's already decided whether we go to heaven or not? Is there someone out there that's decided that we will grow up, kill our father, and marry our mother? Well, we talked a little bit last week about what happens to a culture when they have a rather pessimistic view of the afterlife. Well, one of the things I think happens is you begin to be very conscious, if you will, about the unfairness of this life. Because if you really feel that there's no justice in the end, then the fact that this life seems to be unjust over and over again, we see bad things happen to good people, good things happen to bad people, bad things happen to all people. It doesn't always seem fair. And so the Greeks were very interested in this subject, sometimes bothered by this subject, because I think this is a product of their very dim view of what happens in the afterlife, because there perhaps is no justice on the other side of death. So they like to believe that there was at least some justice on this side. Well, that's where fate comes in. And that's where the story of Oedipus comes in. I'm asking you right now to, before you do anything else, session number 1, I'm asking that you watch the 1957 production of Oedipus Rex. Now, a couple of things about this production. One is, yes, it's old. I apologize for that. Nobody has made a newer version of it that's done in the manner that the Greeks would have done. But as you watch it, notice a couple of things. First of all, notice they're all wearing masks. This is a fascinating invention that has a couple of benefits. The biggest benefit is that it allows one actor to often play multiple parts. It also allowed men to play women. It also may have, and scholars are not 100% sure about this, but it may have had an effect on amplification. You see, what do you do when some of those theaters throughout Greece could seat 15,000 people? However, they didn't have electricity, they didn't have PA systems. So, for one, you had to learn how to project. But the other thing is you might need a little bit of help. And some of those masks, which would be open at the mouth, would help to project. So they were almost like little mini sound systems. But the other thing that I think the Greeks reveled in is that they were beautiful. And that's one thing I really like about the masks in this production. They do manage, despite the fact that they're not moving masks, they do manage still to have personality and character. And aesthetically, they're beautiful. Notice especially the fascinating mask that is Tiresias, the blind prophet. What a wonderful mask that is. But I even think the different masks, such as Oedipus himself or Oedipus, the mask of Jocasta, his wife, even Creon, his brother-in-law slash uncle. I think they're beautiful. And so if any of you are interested in just the artistic element, I think you'll like that. And the other thing I want you to pay attention to is the chorus, because this is a beautiful thing. Probably sung or at least spoken in unison. And the chorus is a great invention because here for the first time, it allowed on the stage to be a kind of narrator, yes, but also to be a kind of voice for the people. The other thing I want you to note is a concept called dramatic irony. Dramatic irony. Many scholars like to say that dramatic irony is seen for the very first time in this play. Dramatic irony is when we, the audience, know more, that we know much more than the actors do on the stage. We actually already know who killed Laius the king. We already do know who Jocasta really is to Oedipus. But the actors don't. And so it's a dramatic irony that we're watching play out for the actors, something that we're already aware of. Every time I hear Oedipus get the credit for inventing this kind of approach, I cringe a little because I think there's actually an older text that also does this. And that's the book of Job. Because in the book of Job, we begin with a prose narrative of an account in heaven that sets up the behind the scenes, and then we have a drama that's actually meant to be performed. And we, the audience, know more about what's going on, what's really going on, than anyone there on the stage. So dramatic irony, watch for that in the play as well. I hope you enjoy it. I think you will if you just have the gumption to keep watching. Some of you might find it a little creepy. Some of you might find it a little slow. But if you carry it to the end, I think you'll see why this play has been regarded by scholars, by viewers, by audiences, by people of almost every century to be the greatest play until Shakespeare. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope you enjoy this week, and it's going to be a good week. Thank you so much for participating with the discussion threads. Keep that up because I enjoy that. That's my one connection to everybody. So thank you.